One moment. Now we are good to go.
Good, we'll call this meeting of the Victoria Senior Citizen Advisory Committee to order, and we'll do the roll call. Sharon,
Here.
welcome, nice to have you.
Thank you.
Susan Bill, we don't have a Susan Bill, do we?
Present.
Susan, good. How about Richard Doyle? Richard, welcome, good to have you with us again. And Julie Hughes is a no?
Julie's here.
Oh, no.
Julie Hughes isn't.
No,
Oh, that Julie.
this is Dawn.
This is Dawn, Julie, Peter.
We're getting them organized here. Julie's,
Julie doesn't come
Patrick's absent today. Jack, welcome. Good to have you here. Nancy,
here.
good to have you here. And Don, thanks for being with us today. So, do we have a staff presentation on concerns, issues, problems, whatever?
You know it. We always have our events right at the beginning, so I just have two for you, and then an update on the mind-body strategies for older adults program. So hands-only CPR training, the fire department offers that a couple times a year. So we have the next one coming up. It is a free event at the fire station. The only requirement is that you have to register an event. The registration can be done online or at the Victoria Recreation Center. And I think the deadline for that is December 11th. But if you are interested, the event will be taking place on December 13th at 6:30, and it's usually an hour and a half. So it'll go about to 8 o'clock. Yes. And then the next event's coming up this week. It's our Light Up Victoria event, our annual lighting up of the downtown and Victoria. So if you want to stop by, it's an hour program. There'll be Santa Claus toys for tots. We have a bunch of different Christmas carols, and it's just a really nice hallmark way to kick off the winter season. So it will be fun and a great event. And then lastly, and it's not on the screen, but I did want to touch on it. Last meeting, Don presented about the mind-body strategies for older adults program that's going to be coming to Carver County in 2024. We did talk to Holly, our rec supervisor, and we were able to get that scheduled within our meeting room space and include it into the winter brochure. So Victoria will be offering that program as a virtual event. More information to come on specific days and whatnot, but we'll have it ready to go.
When will the winter bulletin be out?
We're working on finalizing it now, so probably the next couple of weeks or so.
Thank you.
Of course. And then Don, do you have any updates for us before we move?
I do. It's more of a personal update.
Where are you going?
Oh, this doesn't sound good, John.
I've accepted a position at Dakota County at their Western Service Center, which is in Apple Valley. So working a mile from my house. So it was hard to pass that up, but I've been trying to get in there for a while. So
Good for you.
thank you. I will be doing more environmental health, which I also really enjoy. So I definitely wanted to put it in person because this will be my last meeting. So it's been a pleasure to get to know all of you and work for the Office of Aging and for Carver County. So
We wish you well.
Good luck.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you,
Do
Don.
we have a replacement, or will
I
somebody?
haven't even given my official resignation yet. So eventually there will be a replacement, yes.
Good.
That'd be nice.
You've been making a long commute.
Yes, and why I was a little bit late today, it just, driving to Apple Valley.
Yeah, that's a long way.
Wow.
Yes, that part will be very exciting to just
Yeah.
be so close to home and to work in my own neighborhood and community. So
Good for
That'll
you.
be nice.
Good deal.
Do we have any announcements from the committee members?
I just was going to mention, I don't know if anybody saw, but Care 11 on Saturday morning had our mayor and Len, who's Toy for Tots, and Marta from the Flower Shop, and Judy Black, and a Lions representative. So it was kind of fun to see them holding up their sign and with all the other communities. So that was a nice, I think their goal is 3,000 gifts, toys, pieces, whatever. So that was, yeah.
Good. We'll move on to item 4, the approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 6th meeting?
I so move.
Jack moves. Do we have a second?
No second.
Thank you. We have a second. All those in favor say aye. And opposed, same sign. It carries. We got some official minutes. Old business.
It's all of us, isn't it?
This is the old
Sorry.
business. We're not supposed to use that word. That's a bad word, I think. Oh,
Aging business.
aging business. Alyssa.
Oh, wonderful. I love laughs in the morning, especially on a Monday, too. So as we are all very aware, we reviewed the senior resource packet every year, and last month we touched on it, but we talked about redlining the book so we can actually review it and see if there's any changes we want to make. So in the packet, and I'm going to pull it up right now, we have included the senior resource guide, and we made some changes related to it, and we just wanted to go through what the changes were with the committee and see if there was anything else that we wanted to change, revise, or things that we didn't like about it, so then we can get it pushed out for the 2024 year. So with that, I'll just start scrolling down. So based on our conversation last time, we talked about including the Carver County Library within this general information page. We did have to squeeze it in there, so we did remove the Alzheimer's Association line because we also included the Alzheimer's Foundation of America helpline. We thought that that might be a really good one to clear out of there to make room for the library. The other option for us was to make the font smaller, but it is a 12-point font, and we just wanted to continue on with the larger font size for this. The other piece that was missing that was talked about at the last meeting was we were missing City of Victoria information. So we did include that as part of this right at the very top, just because that's probably something that people would be interested in right off the get-go. So it's not quite in the alphabetical order, but we did want to put it closer to the top page. So it talks about where City Hall is located, what our hours are, contact information, and then just a little bit more about how do you visit City Hall. Since we are on the second floor, we try and put a little bit more directional information to know that it's upstairs from the library.
Excuse me, is there a general email for the city, or I know each individual person has an email. Do we have the web address on here?
We do not.
We do not.
That was a good find.
Okay.
We will add that. And we do not have a general email address. We do have a general report of concern line. And I shouldn't say line, it's a web forum, and people can put whatever their concerns or questions are, and then it will be navigated through. But it's not an email, it's just through a web forum. And we
Do you
can walk
think
through that.
that would be helpful only, with older adults, kind of the more you could get there might be helpful?
Absolutely. We can take a look at that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, just taking notes. Those are all good additions. So we did have some additions. The longtermcare.gov is through the federal government, and it's just a range of services and supports. It's similar to the Minnesota Helpline or the Senior Linkage Line, where it directs people to other information, but the more resources we can put out there, I think the better. I may also want to note that the formatting of this might be a little weird with spacing, so you might see things like this be pushed down a page. Once we actually get this pushed out and the red lines go away, those will all be fixed. So don't worry so much about the formatting, just more of the content for today. And then we also included the Long Care Partnership through Minnesota. This is an option where you can purchase a special type of long-term care policy through insurance, and there's some protection assets through the state of Minnesota. So that is something new that we found through just digging through, and we thought this would be a good addition. And then related to health, wellness, and nutrition section, we did include the Minnesota North Dakota chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. This is the local branch of the Alzheimer's Association specific for our area. So they do have specific support groups and training for individuals that live within Minnesota and states nearby us.
And they don't have a phone number, only a website?
They do not
Okay,
have a phone number
okay.
specific for the chapter.
All right.
Good question. Yeah, so for any ones that do not have phone numbers, the other one is Assistance for Seniors, the USDA. They don't have a phone number on there. But we did include this one since we're already on it. It's another federal health initiative that relates to seniors and specifically food and nutrition services. So how do people connect food and nutrition to an aging population? This was something that I think we've missed as a staff level through the last couple of years. We're really looking at local and regional resources. We really didn't get to the federal level. So you might see a couple of the USDA and other federal programs being pushed out through this guide. Yes.
There is a food assistance camp. If you're familiar with it, I've gotten involved with that a little bit. And it is Carver County, I'm not even sure. But have you got it here somewhere else?
Next page.
It is going to be the next page. Oh, here.
Oh, good. So-
I love when we're all
Sorry.
connecting. Yeah. Yeah. So for people that aren't aware, Scott County, Carver County, and Dakota counties. So Don, you might still be involved with this one. They do host senior dining services and food pickups related or for this area. So we do have where those branches are located for individuals. There's none in Victoria, but obviously there are some in communities nearby us. We didn't put Scott and Dakota counties on here, just the Carver County locations.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions at times. I know they do deliver meals in Victoria. Would that be worthy noting that meals, I don't know where that would fit, but that meals, you know, because you've got Chan and Chaska and Waconia listed, but meals are available to be delivered to Victoria.
Yeah, I think we could definitely make note of that. Obviously, we put home delivery meals here, but that's not very clear. So we can make that change, or at least add to homes can.
The meals that are delivered in Victoria are picked up at Talheim Apartments in Chaska.
Okay.
Because we do that route. And so we pick
Maybe
up-
you can squeeze it in there.
So maybe you could squeeze it in
Well,
there.
some of them come out of Chan, because there are some Victoria addresses that are in Chanhassen, yeah, too. You know how there's some funky ones up there?
Yeah.
And they do not serve food on site, by the way, at Chaska.
Oh, they do.
Not anymore?
All right, that must be, we'll change that too. I will make that note. Perfect. Just before we move on, just scrolling back up, we did include the ALZ Navigator. This is also part of the Alzheimer's Association, but new to them. It's a digital tool that helps families and individuals just kind of plan out if they have someone in their family that's going through any sort of dementia-related disease. It just kind of creates an action step plan for them. So this is just a resource we found through just research. Scrolling down. The other change through health or home health and maintenance services is Aging Connect. This is a federal government program that helps connect aging populations to internet services. If they're not able to afford internet services or need low-cost internet services, or maybe they don't even have internet service at their home, just bridging that gap related to connectivity.
Hey, Alyssa, just a minor thing, but there's some S's missing in that sentence.
In which one?
ACP is a benefit that helps
Ah, yes.
eligible low-income households pay for internet services.
That we will fix too.
Sorry, it's the old English teacher in me.
This is why we do this together.
Yeah.
Multiple eyes. It's a big document. Then for transportation, the other request is to break out Southwest Transit's programs. So for For those who are unfamiliar, Southwest Transit provides some sort of quick service transportation within Carver County as well as other surrounding areas, and they have different forms of it. The first one is Prime Essential. Prime Essential is for like your grocery and pharmacy needs. You can call and receive a ride to a grocery store or a pharmacy. They also have Prime MD, which is specific towards non-emergency medical transportation, thinking of eye doctor visits, regular doctor visits, just connecting people with their non-emergency medical needs. And then the last one is Southwest Prime Edge, which is kind of more of an on-demand service for any area within a Southwest service area. So we're thinking Chaska, Chanhassen, obviously other areas of Victoria, Eden Prairie. They also will go to the Mall of America and the casino, just within that time frame. So we
Not,
want to break
not the airport anymore?
Airport too.
not the airport anymore.
So the city elected not to pay for that service.
Yep, as part of their budget process this year. So we did not include that. Obviously, that might get put back in because the city council has not approved the budget, and that will be approved or at least reviewed on December 11th at their next meeting. But anticipating them continuing to keep that out, we elected to keep it out. If they put it back in, we'll add that back in.
What was the reasoning going to the casino opposed to the airport?
the casino, but not the
I
airport.
think there's a couple people that are employed there, but I would think there are a lot more trips to the airport than to the casino.
Yeah, and I obviously can't speak for city council, and I would recommend watching some of those budget workshops where they discuss that because they kind of go more into detail on their reasoning and just the thought process related to those.
Okay. One other thing, I don't know which this falls under, but I see Southwest Prime vans a lot on the weekend. I've seen them last Saturday. I saw one in Victoria. I saw one about 7 o'clock at night Saturday. I've seen them. I don't know, because all of these say weekdays. I don't know, would that be worth checking?
We can definitely take a look. For our contract, it's always been that time frame. So maybe they're doing extra services. Obviously, we're just subsidizing pieces of it. So
Oh, okay.
extra. I couldn't be sure, but we can definitely check.
Yeah, I was a little surprised how many times I've seen them on weekends.
How busy are they? Have you any idea?
I know we get the numbers, and I know at the budget workshop, the last one specifically, they did have the numbers. What they are off the top of my head, I
No,
can't
I'm
speak.
just curious, yeah.
But they are posted in the last budget workshop, and that would have been in November 13th, I believe, would have been that meeting. Yeah. So they will have that information if you're interested in looking back.
Curious.
Yep. And then I believe the last one is related to vision. This is a new category as discussed at the last committee meeting. There are several services that we included as part of this. The first one is the Minnesota State Service for the Blind, which I already see a spelling error, so I'll mark that one, Dave. But they do offer training, referrals, and counseling for any individuals that fall under with this category, low vision. The Minnesota Lions Foundation, obviously we know Lions as advocates for loss of sight and low vision, so they offer tons of programs related to eye care and eye health, including their free or subsidized eyeglass program, so we wanted to include this one on there. And then the last one, and this is what was mentioned specifically at the last meeting, was the Vision Lost Resources, which is a nonprofit that provides training and classes for anyone that's experiencing low vision.
Can you move your cursor?
Absolutely.
Provider, okay, thank you.
And with that, that was all the changes that we've made. What we will do is everything that's been discussed today, we'll change all those and then we'll push out the packet right at the beginning of the year. But is there anything else the committee thinks that we should add or consider or change while we're at this point?
You guys, you did a nice job with the additions.
My only concern is that it will be available at the post office and here, and how do seniors who are not able to get out and about a lot get it?
That's a great question, and I think this is definitely something that we'd like to get feedback for. Obviously, we have this packet printed and available within City Hall and our other facilities like the rec center. We do send it to like Bethesda or Cornerstone Village, I should say, Julie, as well as the representatives we have at the flats and the Steiger Lake condos. But if there's any other ideas or things that we should be looking for, the other piece is that we have our flyer as well as the packet itself that we have at our post office and other places in addition to city facilities.
Do most people look at it online, or do they get hard copy?
It really depends. We're continuously filling up the one downstairs. I usually print 10 to 15 at a time, and I'm usually refilling them probably every other month or so.
Any data on the website, how many people go and open this?
I don't have that in front of me, but I will make sure I get that to you.
So it's worthwhile. We're all the time and effort you put in keeping this updated with our feedback. People are using it, it sounds like.
Do we have connections at Mount Olivet and St. Vic's? It seems like it might make sense in a church office.
We can get connections if we don't have them. Yeah. I think
And-
those are great additions.
Yeah, and I'm a resident of Able Lake Bethesda, the apartments.
Yes.
Villas. So I find this elderly seniors do not use email a lot.
Yeah,
They're not, and not to degrade them, they're just not tech savvy.
sure.
So they like reading the
Hard copy.
Yep, yep, yep.
Keep promoting it.
You know me, I have ideas.
Some of us are included in that, yes. I understand that very well.
Yeah.
Could there be a little blurb in the new booklet that comes out to reference, available at City Hall, at the Victoria Recreation Center, or call this number or go online? And you wouldn't be opposed to mailing a copy of that to someone?
I don't think so. If we get a request, then we would work with that individual. And we can make sure that it gets in, not the winter brochure, because we're already kind of at finalization and at the printing process related
Okay.
to that. However, we do have a bi-weekly email blast that we'll include on that, especially since we'll have this new one. I think it's really appropriate for us to remind people that this is here. But then in addition, when we're looking at our summer and spring brochure, including it within that.
And another possible resource, like when we do this Mind, Body, Spirit, or the thing with the deputies, is it donuts or
Donuts in Victoria.
donuts in Victoria? Anytime there's anything associated with older adults, maybe there could be a copy or two there and it could be referenced. The more we can get it out, like you were saying, post office to have a few of them. I know I'd be happy to do that. I'd be happy to make a contact at St. Victoria, if you want.
Awesome. The other thing, I know some of you attend the Donuts in Victoria event. If we have them posted, would one of you be willing to just speak to it at the meeting? I think it's one thing to have city staff talk about it, but other neighbors and members of the community, I think it's really powerful and impactful.
I had another idea, looking at all the resources that are in here. There are a lot of things in there that I've never heard about, or I've learned a lot from reading it. I wonder if we could ever down the road, we're always looking to do something for the community. And maybe we've decided not to do a resource fair or senior expo. But if us committee members could look at a few of those things to kind of research them, would we ever, maybe when the weather gets better, want to just have a short presentation on here's some resources, go over the booklet and talk about some unique things?
I think that sounds like a wonderful topic for Donuts in Victoria, actually.
Yes, exactly. And maybe a couple different times of the year do that.
We will add that to the list.
My brain's tired, I'm done with my ideas.
Thank you, Sue. Do you need a motion to approve this, or
We do, but before we do, I also want to point out that we do have this on our city's website. So as soon as we confirm it, it will be included on our city's website, the new guide. And then we will also make sure that all of our senior help links, because we know that this document is 16 pages. It is a lot. We try and pull out some of the more important ones to put on the website so people have a quick look. So we'll review these and make sure that these are still appropriate for the main page.
So is it likely that it'll be online before it's hard copy? I mean, we might be able to.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That'll
we-
be first.
Can you scroll down a little after housing, transportation? Keep going, please. Now, scroll up a little. I'm not, when you're talking about, or these, you don't want to have a lot, I'm not seeing anything about meals or like Jack was saying, the CAP Agency for Home Delivered Meals or the Humanity Alliance. Would that be, I think at times we assume that food resources aren't an issue or bountiful whatever. It might not, you might not have enough space here, but it was a thought.
The beautiful thing about website design is there's always space, so we can include food resources as a category on here.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Does that
Camp
sound
is
reasonable?
on here.
Yeah.
I mean, camp is already on here.
Oh, right there. Okay.
But it
But that's
doesn't,
under financial.
health.
We actually have it under multiple because CAP
Yeah.
does so many different things.
Well, then
Not
maybe,
just, but I think it's good to point out if people are looking for those quick meals or support, we could have health and food resources and include some of the other resources within this category.
thank you.
And do remember that elderly people, for instance, looking at this one, would have no idea what CAP stands for when they read that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
absolutely.
all good suggestions? I think we're ready for a vote. Is there a motion to approve the amended resource guide?
I move to vote to approve.
Is there a second?
I can second.
Thank you, Sharon. It's moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. It's approved. Thank you, Alyssa. We appreciate all your good work on this.
Thank you all.
Big one.
Thank you.
And we're gonna go down to new business now and talk about the trails.
Yes, or young business.
Yeah. Fresh business or whatever.
Trail business.
So we are going to review the results of the 2023 trail audit. Before I pull up the spreadsheet, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day and out of your weeks to walk those routes and really gives some meaningful and good impact on how we can improve those routes for our community and hopefully really generate this into a fun activity for people to do on their own time at the City of Victoria. So I really do want to thank you all for taking the time on that. It saves a lot of staff time for taking those walks and whatnot. Obviously, we're out in the community all the time, but it does take a lift off of us. So we do really appreciate it. So I do have every single one of your results scanned. I did not put it into this packet, but instead we summarized it into a spreadsheet, and I'm sorry I couldn't get it all on one page. If I did, it would be very, very tiny. So instead I separated into 3 pages, and I hope it's clear enough to follow. So I just kind of want to go through some of the main points that we've identified as part of these. And so the first page you're seeing is more of a larger identifier, like what are you looking at when you go to each of these trails? For example, what is the length of time? Trail material, this is one of the big ones that we got out of it, and I think that's something that we want to ensure that is placed on our marketing, is what type of trail or what type of ground you're going to be walking on when you go through these routes. So is it sidewalk, pavement? Are you going to see natural grass trails? Are you going to see gravel, to help people identify if this is something that they would want to walk into? Obviously, we talk a lot about parking in these spaces. So what kind of parking lots are they anticipating? What kind of street parking? Is there handicap accessible stalls? That's actually on the next page. We'll want to make sure we include that information as well, so people are aware of the type of parking they'll be able to receive. if they visit these starting points, and what the endpoints are. We also wanted to include connection points, not necessarily if people are walking these routes, they're looking for a form of transportation, but it's really good for people to know like what they might be visiting on their way there, or if they're looking to expand their route, that they have other opportunities. So those city amenity connections like the recreation center, they can connect to the Lake Minnetonka Regional Trail. They want to walk farther, there's Carver Park, Holy Family, the list could be endless here. So we wanted to include that as part of this as well. Those are all based on location. And then viewing opportunities. A lot of you put, you know, some of the scenery that you noticed when you were walking down on there, and we kind of categorized it. Just again, if people are looking to experience something within their community, then they kind of have an idea of where they're going to be walking. So is it wetland? Is it more of that neighborhood look, prairie, grassland, forestry area? That also helps when we're talking about shade type, which is the next categories too. If you know you're going to be entering more of a woodsy space, you can identify there might be more natural shade versus a neighborhood or prairie grass. There's probably going to be less shade resources within those spaces. So if we look at that piece, this is another big part of the audit. Is we don't necessarily have a lot of intentional shade. We have a lot of natural shade that just comes through the trees or other types of shade structures that might provide that. So when we're looking at summertime and the sun being rising, it's really important for people to know how to dress, what to bring, because they might not be having that reprieve from the shade if they're going out in these areas. The next one is benches, and I think this is probably the biggest one to highlight for us as we're looking at what can we improve within these areas. If you've noticed, a lot of these trails have less than 3 benches within them. Some of them have 0, and I believe that there's room for improvement, that we can identify where locations along these trails could have better benches. Or just more benches. Because if people are walking these long routes, we're talking 1 mile, 2 mile, up to 4 miles, that is an extensive time. And to give people a space to sit down, relax, and just recover is something that we'll definitely be looking into. Restrooms, drinking fountains. This is another one that was of note within those areas. Trails that have restrooms and have drinking fountains, those are ones that either start or end or walk by a certain type of park or city facility like the city hall or the rec center. So we try to include that within this, is like noting that this is going to be within the rec center or within city hall. We do have several trails that don't have any restrooms within them, or they don't walk by any restrooms, so it is something that we'll want to make sure that we know. And also, as we're looking at, you know, how do we improve our park system in the future, what things do we want to add? We do have porta potties placed at what we call our community parks, or our larger parks that are within our park system. So if you think like Lake Bridge or Madeline Creek, those are areas that typically get porta potties, so that might be something to include in the summertime. Same with drinking fountains, those would be a little bit hard to include, but we did want to make sure that people are noting that. So when we're advertising these, people have an idea of what they're going to walk into, if they should bring extra water, because they're not going to be expecting any sort of refreshment area. Same with restrooms too. And then the other piece to the restroom before I move by it is the views of Wasserman Trail, which is going to be the 4th one down. There, I put a 0 here. There are restrooms at that park. We've had a series of vandalisms, specifically in our restroom area, which has kind of made us want to lock those within the summer months and in the winter months. They can be unlocked during rentable opportunity, like if people are renting the space, but most of the time for general use, we have kept them locked. However, as we're moving into next year, we are looking at cameras and security of that space to hopefully identify ways that we can get those restrooms unlocked, since it is kind of a park that is outside of other areas of our city. I wouldn't quite say it's in the middle of nowhere, but there really isn't an option for people to go to a restroom anywhere near that space without driving. In addition, it is more of a signature park piece, so people do go there to experience the whole entire landscape, spend a couple hours there going kayaking or just enjoying the natural landscape. So not having a restroom for that park is really detrimental to the general public use. So we are trying to find ways that we can open those back up. And then directional signage, those are pretty clear that we don't have any. And I think this is a really good exercise for us of like, we need to do better in this. And I think when we're looking at putting this out online and making it in Google Maps so people can walk it, giving people better directional signage via paper, because as we talked, you know, people don't always utilize digital resources. So it's making sure that we're providing clear directional signage. So the ones that make note of the route directional signage wasn't very clear, we'll go back and revise those. And I thank you guys for making those notes for us. It's hard when you're making directional notes above looking at it from an aerial map than it is when you're actually walking it, so we can make those adjustments. But yes, we will be looking at better ways to actually have wayfinding for these for these areas, and just make it really clear for people so they know where they're going. And then other considerations, these are just general notes that we've either learned through staff walking it or reading the audits that we didn't want to just bypass because it wasn't within these columns. So I think some areas are like elevation status, significant elevation in certain areas. I'm going to point to this top one here, the 6 Mile Creek, the north side. If you look at the overall look of the trail, it doesn't have a significant elevation. However, there's one point within the trail where there's a significant increase and a significant decrease that I think is really important for people to note. Because if you look at the trail overall, it's really not that bad, but there is one section that has a really long high point. It's not stretched through the whole trail. I think the other one that is very similar is along the valley, which it starts at Lions Park. There's one dip that is kind of concerning that people should be aware of. Yeah.
The word significant is misspelled in 2 places here.
Yes, it is. My spell check must have not been working the other day.
Yeah, 6 Mile Creek and Tamarack Lake Trail.
We will fix those. The other pieces for this is more of an internal document. When we're looking at putting it out on the website, we'll definitely go through higher level revision and make it look more pretty and include a lot more to it than this spreadsheet here.
Are bikes allowed? Some are, some aren't.
Yeah, can you
Motorbikes,
be on the
whatever.
signs?
Yeah, we can speak towards bikes. Bikes are allowed on all of our trails and all of our sidewalks. And the other piece that we've heard a couple people have concerns over is e-bikes, and specifically why are e-bikes allowed within the park system, the trail system, although with motors. That is governed by state statute. They have made declaration that e-bikes are considered to be regular bikes under definition, so they're not considered to be a motorized vehicle. Obviously, there are opportunities for cities to have more measures upon them. We do have speed limits within our park system at, I can't remember if it's 15 or 20 miles an hour, but I think when we're looking at directional signage within our park system and within our trails, I think there's opportunities to not only do directional wayfinding, but educational and just where are you, what can you do on our trails, making sure dogs are on leashes, making sure that you're following speed limit signs, and just having more of that educational of what's allowed and what's not. So I think there's ways for us to improve all sorts of, things that we've heard concerns about through better wayfinding and signage overall.
Very good.
Nice job.
This
is you all.
This is a minor point, but it just seems odd to me that half of the trails are named, and then there's 5 of them that are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. They're numbered. It seems odd that they either number all of them or name all of them, but have half. And
yeah, we can absolutely go through that. It hasn't been brought to the Parks and Recreation Committee yet, related to trails. So we definitely have more time to go back on specifically those last 5 on what we think the most appropriate name was. I believe the intention related to those, but I'm not trying to speak for the committee, so please correct me, but these, a lot of them are really small, and a lot of times they are the same as some of the other routes. I think, for example, along the valley, I think we have 2 trails that are almost exactly the same as those, so not trying to call them something different. And I believe when we're looking at our website, when we're trying to push these out, these 5 can be one page, where the rest of these would have a page for each of them. So we'd have like a low impact trail option for people to look at.
Well, that also implies that the other are high impact, and I'm not sure what a low impact trail is versus a high impact. Does low mean it's easy?
I believe the intention there is it's more easier than the others. It's the usual for these low impact. When we're looking at them, they're about a mile or less. There's not significant elevation. However, we did find through this, 10 and 11 did have areas where there was a moderate elevation change. So maybe we do have to look at those a little differently. And then just making sure that they have more amenities related. So, but we can definitely think about them differently.
We had called them age-friendly to begin with.
Age friendly?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Easy.
it's tricky, I guess, because you don't want to be exclusive.
Right.
Yeah.
I think to your point, Nancy, the reason that we switched it from age friendly to the low impact is anybody might need a lower elevation, a smaller route trail. It has nothing to do with age. It could do with physical ability. It could do to injury. Just getting people out and walking and knowing that there's smaller distances. That was kind of the thought of that change. But we can definitely look more at these. These are not solidified in stone.
It will be interesting to hear what the Park and Recreation Committee has to say on that. You know, you've done a great job. I mean, would it be easy, easy, medium, difficult? But it's a hard thing, but it will be interesting to hear what they have to say or what their thoughts are.
Because maybe to me, what's easy is more difficult for someone else.
Exactly.
I think there is opportunity, especially when we look at the signage aspect and when we market these, that there still is a need to, whether it's easy, medium, high, difficult, but having some sort of difficulty range for people, just so when they come across them, they know what they're getting into. Obviously, we'll have a lot of this data there, but providing a quick glance to know that this one's going to be a little bit more challenging than others is definitely beneficial. And I think what we would try and do is mimic that based on the All Trails app, National Park System. They have a very similar status, and I can't remember. I don't think it's easy, medium, hard, but they have very similar levels of difficulty that we try and mimic through this. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We'll go with the standard that people are used to.
And you're saying there's an e-bike speed limit or anything on the trails?
There's just an overall speed limit within our trails, and I can't remember if it's 15 or 20. I'm feeling like it's 20, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But there's a speed limit for everybody. So even if you're training for a bike path, you still need to make sure you're maintaining under that speed limit.
Okay.
Yep. So the thought process behind this exercise and the next step for us is taking a look at where the need is for some of those benches and some of those amenity additions and create some sort of formal document of saying these are the priority areas and this is how many benches we're looking for or how many shade structures we're looking for. This is the signage that we're looking for, and have a larger document that we can refer back to. So as we're looking at funding sources, and we're applying for grants in the future, we have this document that we can go back into and we can check things off as we go through. Okay, we've received funding for 4 benches, we're gonna do these 4, and then the next go around or the next budget cycle, we know we're trying to secure 5 benches for this area or whatnot. So I think that's the next step for staff. And then once we have that done, we'll bring it back to the committee for, again, a review, a spell check, and just an approval or just, again, a review process. So that's kind of the next step for us.
Making progress.
We are. But before we go through, is there anything that we feel like needs to be highlighted certain areas that, whether it's this thing for other consideration, if there's other things that we should include on here, just anything in general that we may have missed.
It looks pretty comprehensive. There was a lot of thought put into it.
Thank you for the opportunity to participate, I mean, to help.
Yeah.
It was great. Thank you all. If there's any other activities that you're thinking of, we're not quite at the next work plan yet, but we'll start thinking about that relatively soon in the next couple of months. So as you're kind of hemming and hawing the next steps for us as a committee, always love ideas. So.
Ready to move on for other business then?
I think so.
Anybody on the committee have any items they want to bring before the committee? I think we're good. Anything from you, Alyssa?
Nothing for me.
Can we just take a minute and review the next meeting schedule then, so that we see if we're going to have a quorum and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's January the 9th or so.
8th.
Is it the 8th?
It will be the 8th. Yep.
So I'm absent that day. Anybody else? Oh, we're good then.
Wonderful. I will send out as soon as the calendar is finalized. I'll send that out to you so you have an idea of when the next 2024 year's calendar up is, the next meetings. But we'll continue to have the January 8th one on our schedule and move forward from there.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I just want to once again wish you good luck. Thank you for all you've done, and we'll miss you. And I make a motion to adjourn.
Sue's going to move that we adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thank you, folks.